Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Nerd of the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. Kat is still out with the plague, so yeah, we're hoping that she gets better soon, and that we don't have to pull a Walking Dead and chain her out in the back and feed her live corpses. It's a bit of an oxymoron. Anyway, yeah, get well soon, Kat. But Skyblaze, you're here with us this week. How have you been?
Tired. And in Turkey at one point. I accidentally brought the hot weather back to the UK with me. Most of the UK has been spent the last couple of weeks melting.
I always laugh when you tell me that it's hot. Okay, because what is a death trap to you is like a breezy spring afternoon for us here on the East Coast, and for Brian is the middle of December, being in the middle of Texas.
Yeah, the thing that you have to remember is that we don't have aircon, and that UK houses are designed to keep in heat.
Oh, that seems like a national problem.
Pretty much.
So, yeah. But anyway, and speaking of Brian, how you looking nice and smoky today? You get yourself a lot of sun today there, Brian?
Well, we're actually on a small cool front. We had some rain come in and cool us down, but we finally hit over 100 over the weekend. I was outside for a good portion of that going, well, this is going to be fun in August.
Okay. All right. So we got a fun show for you tonight. Tonight we're discussing the concept of shared universes. Marvel has been having a lot of success with it, and to a lesser extent, we kind of see the Star Wars expanding universe expanding. But we had the Mummy come out a couple weeks ago, and so we got the start of the so-called Dark Universe. So we're going to kind of stop and see is the whole shared universe lightning in a bottle? Is that something that studios can make strike twice, or is this a fad that's going to be passing really quick? But okay, I got so for our random topic, this actually came from an Ask a Geek question that we got this week, but I really want to kind of expand on it. Brian, you frequent many comic book stores in your days, do you not?
Yes.
Okay, so the question we got here, this is a question that we got from Charlie, and his question, it's extended just to you, but I want to kind of open it up because I feel like there's a larger discussion here. His question is, what is the best and worst experience you've had at a comic book store? And then he's also opened the question up to me for video game stores, and so I just want to kind of open this up in general. Like, what is what makes a good geek store to you, and what's something that's happened at one of these stores that's kind of turned you off it and kind of like, you know what, this is a place that could burn to the ground, and I wouldn't bat an eye. So let's start with you, Brian, since the question was initially directed towards you. What's the best and worst experience you've had at a comic book store? Well, and what made it so?
If you want to have a good experience, and this is for owners or anything like that, you have to have one big thing, and that is a clean store. It shouldn't be at a high school cafeteria. There's just junk and food and stuff like that everywhere. You have to treat that at least with respect, because if that's how they treat the store, they're not treating the products very well either. That's sort of one of the main things. And the second thing is you also want to be organized. People need to find where their stuff is, be it comic books, graphic novels, tabletop gaming, what have you. Be friendly, smile sometimes. You're there to help. Things like that. So my local store, I'm actually going to name them because they're a fantastic store here in San Antonio, Dragon's Lair.
Shout out.
I've never had hashtag not an ad. I've never had a bad experience at that store. They treat everyone fantastic. Everything is in place and where it's supposed to be. It's always just sort of fantastic that you can walk in. Everyone's like, "Hey, how you doing? What you looking for?" They have recommendations off to one side. I can go down the trade paperback aisle or even the manga aisle and be able to find exactly what I need without any real hesitation and stuff like that. I always be aware in terms of bad experiences is watch out for stores that just have a lot of stuff and not necessarily just comics, just stuff in general. I'm talking like action figures and statues and big like standee costumes and stuff like that, where you kind of have to look around going, where the hell are the comics? Those stores do not tend to be run very well, I found out. I did have a bad experience at the store here where I walked up. I forgot to book I was looking for, though, but I knew it had just come out. And I remember going up to the guy and I was like, hey, I've been looking for, this book, came out this week, issue, blah, blah, blah. And the guy looked at me, you read that? Yeah, I do. That's what I'm asking for, you asshole.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll tell you I kind of disagree on your stance on if the store's got a lot of stuff besides comics that not necessarily run well. If you ever come to visit me here in Maryland, I'm taking you to Third Eye Comics in Annapolis. Shout out. It's probably the largest comic book store in the state, and it's got like everything. And it's absolutely massive. It's run really well, very friendly staff.
Can I find this stuff?
Oh yeah.
See, that when I say there's a lot of stuff, it's not just meaning like
you're talking like it's like a random mishmash of shit.
Yeah,
thrown around.
You walked into a brick and mortar version of a garage sale. This shit's everywhere.
This is something I talk about going on off of that, and this is something that as I tell the story, I'm sure Skyblaze, being a fellow tech person, is going to just screw herself into the ceiling at this story. But I had to buy anti-static bags to put some hard drives in, which I don't understand why it's such a radical concept. It's like, I'd like to go into a store and buy just like a 12-pack of these, but I can't find it, but I can get like the most obscure, screwdriver head that I could possibly name. And there it is. There's like a dozen of them. But if I wanted to buy an anti-static bag, I've got to buy them I've got to order from Amazon from some guy in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere. Well, I
just get them from the RS catalog, but I do that through my dad because I cheat a lot.
Yeah. So I went into in my desperation, I went into this place that I shall not name, because to even speak the name of this place will cause blood to pour from my gums, and that's not just because I went to the dentist today. But I went in, and the first thing I saw, I walked in the door, and on the shelf on the opposite wall from the door, at eye level, is a plastic bin with what looks like graphics cards and wireless cards just sitting there, not wrapped up, not in boxes, not in anti-static bags, just dumped in this bin to the open air. And the whole store is like this. And there's like a bin of just hard drives put out in the open air. There's a bin of what look like power supplies, and they're just you couldn't even move in this store. There's like all the floor space is taken up by like row upon row of gutted PC towers, just as far as the eye could see, up to about 12 feet, because that's how big the store was from stem to stern. And I'm just looking at this, and I'm like, what the hell? This is a computer repair place. Now, bear in mind, I've done freelance computer repair, and I operated this business out of my apartment. And I would, running this out of my apartment, was able to keep my merchandise in better condition than this shit. I had everything in boxes, wrapped in anti-static bags with the original literature. This shit's just sitting in open air. So I go in and I ask, because like, do you have any anti-static bags? And it was like, yeah, we got a whole bunch in the back. I'll go back and bring some out to you. And this is the point where I realized either this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, or he thinks that anybody who comes in is just an absolute rube. So he comes out with these miniature garbage bags. The garbage bags you got and you rake the leaves, you use those thick plastic garbage bags. Imagine those, but like in miniature. And he hands them to me. I was like, okay, how much are these? I'm expecting to tell me it's like, 10, 15 cents. Like, oh, just take them. No charge for those. I'm like, hey, there better not be. You basically just handed me lawn equipment. So that's probably like, that's why like the only computer store that I will go to in the greater Anne Arundel County, Baltimore area that isn't like a Best Buy or a dedicated electronics store is the Micro Center up in on East Joppa Road in Towson. Shout out. That place is like, that is my church. I go there just once a week just to pay homage. It's a wonderful place. So yeah, that's the absolute worst experience I've had in a shop. Now, the best experience I've ever had was there used to be a game chain, video game store chain called Play and Trade that dealt with retro video games. There's one up at Olney that I used to frequent a lot. And every time I went up there like once a month. I never spent less than $150. I was on a first name basis with the owner. It's the only store that I've ever walked into where if the manager saw me coming, he would whip out a pair of cold Dr. Peppers for me, just because he was that happy to see me. So, because I was very reckless with my money in my early 20s. So, Skyblaze, what about you? Best and worst experience in a geek type store?
The two main comic stores in Sheffield are actually really good. Galaxy 4 and the Sheffield Space Centre.
Shout out.
Yeah, Sheffield Space Centre have been around since, I think, since the 70s and are amazing. They're not so much a comic store as a sci-fi bookshop, but they're brilliant guys. They really know their stuff. If they don't have it, they will get it for you. And they... Quite often you will see people just kind of showing up there just to hang out and chat to the people that run the place. It's awesome. Also, Playtime Games, which is it's a place in Sheffield. There's one in Sheffield and one in Nottingham. And they deal a lot. They do sell modern gaming equipment and games, but they also sell a lot of retro stuff. I've seen stuff like Neo Geos and Sega Nomads in there. You know, the only time I've ever seen these damn things in the flesh. That's where you find them. They are encyclopedic in their knowledge. I can go in there now and be like, I am after something new to play. And the guys will be like, oh, I think you will be interested in this, this, and this. Because they know my stuff and they remember me. And even if they don't know you, you can go in there and say, I'm into this sort of game. What would you recommend for me? And they will just go, haha, you will want this, this, or this. Go on.
Go ahead.
They are that sort of people who really know their stuff. They're really enthusiastic about it. And even all the retro stuff, they're like, aha, you are into this. Would you also be interested in this? So they kind of upsell a little, but they do it in such a nice way that it's like, I don't have the money for that right now. Can you set it aside for me for next payday? Certainly.
I've had moments like that. I've told the story before at the plane trade. There's one time a buddy of mine was up there with me, and he asked if they could hold a game for him and how long it could be. And the guy was like 3 days. And the store manager comes out and it's like, no, we hold it until he comes back. But you said we only hold it for 3 days. No, we hold it.
He's like, that's my house payment right there.
But now I gotta ask, because I've run into this. I want to see if you guys do. Have you guys run into the know nothing, know it all? The guy, the person who thinks they know absolutely everything about whether it be video games or comic books, and they just feel like they have to let everybody in the store know it. Have you run into this?
I was going to actually get onto that because I was going to do my worst experience.
Oh well, continue.
There was. It's gone. It went into liquidation, and there's some of them that still exist. It's the UK store called Game, just GAME in capitals. They have about the same kind of reputation that GameStop do for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But they took over nearly all of the other gaming stores in the UK. So they had no competition for a long, long time until they managed to completely hit a wall by trying to compete with Amazon, which was hilarious.
So they pretty much are GameStop then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only they've actually gone into liquidation and GameStop haven't yet.
It's not for lack of trying on my part,
But yeah, just after I got my PS3, I wanted an audio cable, one of the optical audio cables, to connect my amplifier to my PS3. So I go into Game because I figure there wasn't any other competition at this point, and I wanted it right the hell now. Because I wanted to listen to my new games on my new console in Shiny 5.1. So I go in and I pick up an optical cable, and I think it was like 15 quid for a couple of meters of optical cable, which is extortionate, but I was like, fuck it, I've got the money and I want this cable. And I took it over to the desk. And it's not labeled as a specific PS3 optical cable, it's just labeled as I think it was labeled as a PC optical cable. And he said, "Oh, what are you getting this for?" He was just making conversation, the guy at the counter, and I was like, to connect my amplifier to my PS3. Oh, this won't work. Yeah, it will. No, you'll need a specific PS3 optical cable, and we don't have any of those in. Also note that they are twice the price. The specifically PlayStation branded ones. I was like, no, this will work fine. I only need a couple of meters rather than the long ones, the long PS3 ones. I know this will work fine because an optical cable is an optical cable. It's not a complicated concept. And he would not have it. He insisted that this wouldn't work. And I would have to return it. And he was just like talking down to me like I was a complete idiot. I don't know if it was because I was female or what. But finally, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to order one from Amazon. And I just left.
You know what's irritate even more than the know nothing about the upseller. This is the one who's like, what you're buying is not good enough. They have to sell you like the super primo package. Like I went in to buy an HDMI cable at a Best Buy a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I've ranted about this before.
Yeah, and the guy was like, "Oh, if you find anything," I was like, "Yeah, I'm just buying an HDMI cable." It's like, "Oh, well, if you want a really clear picture, you should get this one. That's like $80 and gold plated." And I'm like,
God.
"No, that doesn't work. That's not how that works." And it's like, "Yeah, it's great pictures." Like, okay, yeah, maybe if you're running a cable from the basement to like the third floor. Maybe, but I'm just running, I'm buying a 2-foot long cable just to connect a PlayStation to my television. You really think I need to spend $80 on a cable? And finally, he just broke down and was like, look, I just got a commission on every one of these I saw. I was like, well, you're not getting one from me.
Well, that's nice. Go away.
Okay. All right, so I guess since our random topic sprung from Ask a Geek questions, let's just go straight into the Ask a Geek. So we got a couple questions here. Here's one from our frequent offender, Bima DeCashman, who he's got a 3 for me, all about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. He wants to know if I'm looking forward to it. Do I think it'll come out? And if I were directing it, how would it go? And what would I do? In order, the answers are yes, if it gets made. Do I think it will come out? I'm hoping so. 3, if I were directing it, that's a really tough question to answer.
If you say found footage, I am punching you in the face.
See, the irony is that's a way that it could actually work, is if it was done like found footage, because the whole game is played.
Give me my boxing glove out.
Well, okay, Mr. Smartass, how would you do it?
You just do it like a haunted house, except it just happens to be inside of a haunted whatever. Well, I forgot what it was, a pizza place, and you just have one guy in the animatronics. That's it. That's your film.
Well, I don't know. I think a found footage one might work. But I do also have to agree with Brian that the found footage fad is just way overdone. So if we're gonna do it that way, let's wait a few years before that craze dies out. The last I'd heard about the film was that it had been shelved, and Scott Cawthon was trying to find someone else to pick it up. So I don't know
They've already found another director.
Oh, they have?
They found another director and another production company.
Another production company?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so Jim Henson Creature Shop isn't working on the animatronics anymore?
They were only involved in the effects. I haven't heard about what's happening with the effects. I just know that they've got a different director and a different production company.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, we'll see. Like I said, I mean, I don't know. Just the thing about Five Nights at Freddy's is it's such a niche concept that I see it being very difficult to pull off well in theaters as a film. I will say that it definitely would not be like a multi-million dollar budget blowout like the Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street remakes were. It would definitely be a very low budget film, because I mean that's all you'd really need.
Apparently the production company who's working on it is the same one that did the first couple of Paranormal Activity films.
Blumhouse?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were still in operation.
Apparently.
So it may actually be a found footage film.
Fuck.
But apparently they're pretty good at crafting things on a fairly low budget. So
Little did Brian know that it was fate itself he taunted heroes.
well, considering the entire game is mostly done through bloody security cameras, it kind of makes more sense than anything else.
Exactly.
I just don't want to see another horror film that makes me sick. And not like sick as like, ew, that was kind of gross. It's, ew, I can't watch this film because it's moving too much.
But this is why the fact that if it's through CCTV doesn't really move very much. The most you'll get is kind of a sweep from right to left.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what you're saying. Oh, okay. That makes
Yes.
Yeah. I would say I would show the animatronics moving on screen as little as possible, because that was where the horror came from, was like, oh, it's there. Now it's not there anymore. In fact, in the first game, the only...
I don't know, because have you seen any of the footage from Joy of Creation?
I have. It's
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of horror from the main games.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's a different kind of terror. But like in the first game, the only animatronic that you saw move on camera was Foxy. And that was when he was sprinting down the hall to fucking do unpleasant things to you with his hook hand. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then someone else, I can't remember who, asked me if I've read the novels. To which I say no, I haven't read the novels yet. I'm a fan, but I'm not that huge a fan.
The second one I don't think's out yet. The Twisted Ones.
Yeah, no, I haven't read either of them. I haven't read the Silver Eyes. I mean, I might, but like, you know,
they're apparently okay. Scott's a great storyteller. His prose could use some work.
The same could be said of so many authors.
Mm-hmm.
So, and let's see here now. I had one here that I wanted to ask you for you. Here's one for you, Skyblaze.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a question. This one is from Mike, and he asked, since you were absent last week from E3, what's the big thing from E3 that you're really looking forward to?
Beyond Good and Evil 2. Next.
Not the answer I thought you were going to give.
Beyond Good and Evil 2, I think, is a lot of people's answers right now. What
were you expecting?
I was expecting you to say Sonic Mania.
I already knew about that, so that's not an announcement I knew from E3, is it? I knew about that like half a year ago.
Well, now we're just arguing semantics.
No.
Okay.
No, we're not. These are facts.
All right. Okay. And let's see. Brian, I had one more here for you. And I can't seem to find it. Oh well, you got a whole random topic. Two whole random topics of the week devoted to stuff for you. So that's all for you this week.
I'm sorry. I'll go over here now.
All right, so that's all the Ask the Geek questions that we have for this week. Thank you as always for sending them in. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdtothethirdpower.com, or you can drop them in the comments below the YouTube feed. We do every once in a while go through and call those. So yeah, get your questions in, and maybe yours will be read on the air. And so with that, we're going to jump into our discussion topic, which is shared cinematic universes. It's not 100% a new concept, but it's one that seems to be becoming a bit of a fad right now. We've had, of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a real big one. We got DC now trying to get one off the ground. You know, whether or not they're succeeding is a topic for debate for a different table. And then we got the horror film shared universe, the Dark Universe, beginning with the most recent Mummy film. Which
well, you're kind of wrong on that last one.
Oh, really?
So I wish John was here, because Universal actually wanted to start a shared universe with Dracula Untold, and then Dracula Untold didn't do very well and wasn't a very good film. So they said, people forget that. So now we're really going to start a universe here with the Mummy, and it's going to be the Dark Universe, and we're going to announce it, and then everything's going to be okay until the Mummy came out. Which
what? Dracula Untold? I never even heard of that one.
Surprise!
It was awful.
See, they were expecting most people to forget about it. That's why they're going to basically try to restart it. That's the Dark Universe is kind of why I brought up this subject to begin with, just because I feel really bad for Universal, because they have great monster characters they can use, just right there, and for whatever reason, they can't get this started.
Well, I mean, and it's not like they didn't pull it off before. Cast your mind back with me, 70 years prior to the 30s and 40s, at the height of the Universal classic monster films, where those just started out as set films, but then they, you had films like House of Frankenstein or Castle of Dracula. I'm sure I'm getting those titles wrong, where all these Universal monsters came together and basically duked it out. So it's not like they haven't had success with this before. And this is, back in the fucking 1930s and 40s. Yeah.
So now it feels like you should have sort of like, and then truth be told, that was sort of, I think we all agree that it may have been slapdash back in the day, but because they weren't really planning ahead, but it was still kind of cool anyway. So we feel like Universal should have one of the bigger success rates with this, but they can't. It bothers, and what bothers me is because for whatever reason, it's the Universal monster movie universe that they're not focusing on the monsters. Like the Mummy movie came out, and everything was focused on Tom Cruise.
Well, I mean, you get Tom Cruise. I mean, you gotta use him. I mean, it's not
you don't have to. Tropic Paradise.
Tom Cruise is one of those. He's like Will Smith. If you have him, you have to flaunt him, because that's the only way that you can justify paying that much Skrilla for one person.
Well, then they might think about using someone else, because he did not help this film.
So, I guess the question is, who here has seen The Mummy? And Brian, if you tell me you have, then you're the only person I know, because everybody I know has avoided it like the plague.
No, I didn't see The Mummy.
I refuse to dignify it by throwing money at it, frankly.
She refused to dignify it by even talking about it.
She went and watched the Brendan Fraser Mummy, which is a good movie instead.
It's less irritating. It's less irritating than the new one, that's for sure.
And it's just one of those things. I'll put Brendan Fraser, but it's just one of those that I was like, so why is it they can't seem to get it right? Is my question for them, because for whatever reason, Marvel just has, however done it. I don't know what genie they have in their back pocket, has done everything right. Even like their mistakes don't look like mistakes in terms of the cinematic universe.
I'm surprised that you'd ask that question, Brian, because if there's any company on Earth that knows how to handle a shared universe full of hundreds of characters, it would be Marvel, because they've been playing this game in comic books for nearly a century now. And unlike DC...
Not always successfully.
But how many?
A comic book universe is much different than a cinematic universe. A comic book universe, you have a good control over the characters because they're drawings. In a cinematic universe, you have a lot of different moving parts you have to worry about: actors and studios and special effects. Like a special effect in the comic book is easy. It's, hey, draw this really cool explosion. Done and done, sir. Would you like a sound effect with it? Yes, I would.
I think what Marvel have done differently, and what nobody else seems to have glommed onto, is the fact that they have a through line of character development by using Tony Stark as a perspective character.
There's a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the direction that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has taken, a lot of it hangs on Tony Stark's character arc. From the original Iron Man film through to Age of Ultron, through to the Civil War, through to the current the upcoming Spider-Man Homecoming thing, a lot of it hinges on Tony Stark's actions, or going back further, the actions of Tony Stark's father, Howard. And the fact that they've used that as a thread of continuity means that the audience has some familiarity with knowing who that guy is, and by knowing who that guy is and how everybody else relates to him, that gives the audience a point of reference. Can you name who the through line is in the DC universe? Can you name it in this bloody dark universe bollocks? Because I certainly can't.
And that's the thing. That's for Dark Universe, you could use like Dracula, like which they were going to do, or even use or even use someone else, like even a newer character. Like my vision would be, because I'm getting a little bit sick of like the monster movies, like the secret societies or keeping the monsters hidden. What would be actually kind of interesting to turn that trope on its head is what Universal should have said, like, oh, those old Universal movies, maybe they actually did take place, you know? And like the modern day interpretation is those movies did in fact happen. Those characters, you know, existed. And you actually have a world now where monsters are a known commodity. Or not commodity, but a known thing. And you actually could have like a scientist going, hey, this has happened before, or I'm getting reports of someone trying to wake a mummy up again. Well, that can't be good, you know?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to derail this, but I just on lark, I looked up Dracula Untold on Wikipedia, and oh my god, that movie poster and that tagline, every bloodline has a beginning.
Yeah.
Did they pull this from a high schooler's spiral notebook? Is that what the screenplay for this film was written on?
It was fairly obviously and transparently trying to play on the whole Twilight thing. It was pathetic.
Oh no, this aesthetic predates Twilight. This is like late 90s, like Linkin Park crawling in my skin shit here. Oh my god. This is awful.
Yeah, a friend of mine who is like studies like vampire mythology and so on went to go and see it, and he just came back and we were like, so how was it? And he was like, I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Listen, let me get a couple drinks in my system first.
Wait, hang on. You're the guy who went to go and see Queen of the Damned at the cinema, and you're saying this was worse? Oh yeah. Wow. Okay.
Oh God. Well, at least I mean, Queen of the Damned at least had Anne Rice behind it. This one, I like. Oh God, yeah. Just it's like someone took all the early 2000s emo teens, ground them up, and just distilled them, and this was the product. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail the conversation. Continue, Brian.
Well, it's pretty much derailed, but I was just talking about my dream. And now it's kind of an interesting on the other side of the spectrum, though, is the Godzilla King Kong, I guess, Kaiju universe. Everything has to have a weird name, right? So let's just call it Kaiju universe. And that one's started. So you had Godzilla, and you had Kong Skull Island, and then they're pushing more towards having them meet later on down the line. And I don't know, that one actually, weirdly enough, is doing okay. I use okay with a question mark. That one
uses a very light touch when it comes to the shared universe elements, though. It's more it's more towards the kind of like amusing cameo thing than laying it on with the trowel like DC was doing.
I don't know. Did you see Kong Skull Island?
I think the difference between and what Skyblaze just said just kind of hit. I think it's hitting the nail on the head here. I think the reason why Marvel is able to be so successful with these shared universe movies is Avengers films aside, and to a sort of a similar extent, Marvel Captain America: Civil War. Most of these films you can watch standalone without having to see any others and understand what's going on. They stand by themselves as standalone stories. Whereas DC, and I have not seen The Mummy, I can't really see what they're doing with it so far, but, you know, maybe DC is trying so hard to weave things in together to the point where like, you know, they have to have a reference to something else like every 5 minutes. Like I think, Brian, you called it the scene in Justice League where we see like the Cyborg and the Flash on Wonder Woman's computer. I think you called that the coming attraction segment of the film.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
I didn't actually watch it because I wasn't prepared to put myself through that much pain. But Tony, my husband, watched Batman vs Superman on the plane to Turkey, and I was just looking over every so often and going, "What the fuck? What the fuck is he wearing? Who's that guy?" And I'm somebody who knows comics, so I would have thought that they'd make these people recognizable. Nope. So,
but like, I don't know. I still kind of, you know, choose to die on the hill that part of the reason why Marvel's been so successful is because they've been playing this game for so long, and they've been able to translate keeping a comic book continuity, taking those skills and translating to keeping a film continuity. And
I'm just saying you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure I entirely agree, because there are other studios and places and companies that have had just as much experience and have still managed to fuck it up.
Well, share. Give us some examples.
Well, DC springs to mind. I mean, they took them like how many attempts to get a shared universe launch? 3?
3?
Well, the Green Lantern.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not. So it was Green Lantern, and then Man of Steel was.
Man
so
of
Green
Steel.
Lantern didn't work. Then Man of Steel, and then we're going. Everything that's followed so far followed Man of Steel.
And then there was also a rumor floating around after Dark Knight Rises that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to be in a Nightwing movie, and that was going to tie into Man of Steel. So
well, that
Yeah,
never came to fruition.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I'm kind of glad he escaped.
Well, not even that. I don't even think that was actually going to happen. Period. I think that was just rumor. That's just rumor mill. You can also look at Sony's Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh God, I'd rather not.
Oh, but why? It's so relevant because it's in the news again.
Yeah, but it's still shit.
Sad face.
And there's still the thing that really gets me is that they're still keeping going, because they're all about doing Venom and Black Cat, and what was the other one?
Silver
Silver
Sable.
Sable. That's right.
Yeah, Black Cat and
Who
Silver Sable
in my head is still voiced by Mira Furlan.
Ha! That's cool.
Someone's going to explain that one to me.
90s animated Spider-Man series. Silver Sable was voiced by Mira Furlan, as in Delenn from Babylon 5.
Oh yeah, the 90s Spider-Man series. Was that the one with the theme song that sounded like someone singing through a garbage can?
That'd be the one, yeah.
Yeah. That
Shame
one, right?
about the theme song, but the series itself is actually really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so since you brought that up, this is one of the funnier things. So Spider-Man sort of escaped Sony, and that's the way I'm going to phrase it.
So like they're holding the rest of his universe hostage.
But here's where the story gets funny in these last couple weeks. So Spider-Man Homecoming's coming out, so big things going on, and it's co-produced by Sony. So Sony kind of has a leash on them, but they're letting them run free, letting them play in another yard. And then they came up and said, "All right, we're going to make Venom."
You got to be home for dinner.
Just let me finish my story. So like, all right, they announced we're going to make Venom. It's going to be Tom Hardy. And we're going to make Black Cat and Silver Sable. It's going to be one movie. Oh, and by the way, these movies are also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. To which point, Kevin Feige, who's in control, went, "Wait, come again?"
I'm sorry. Once more in my good ear.
There's a fantastic video interview. You can find it where I think it's Amy Pascal, who's the Sony producer behind this, was talking. And when she mentions that, he kind of like freezes a little bit, like a deer in headlights, and kind of looks over. It's like, I don't think that's what's happening here. Let's be cool. Cameras are on. So for a while, it was like, yeah, totally. Like we'll have Spider-Man can come back and they'll cross over. And literally the next day, they came out going, "No, okay, that's not true. We're sorry. It's going to be separate universes somehow, and maybe we'll do something in the future." I was like, "All right, you guys sound super confused." And then they announced, like, "Oh, by the way, the guy who might be playing the Scorpion in an upcoming Spider-Man film is also going to play a Scorpion in our film." We're like, "All right, just knock it the fuck off and make up your mind."
It's like, and everybody has to go and have a nice lie down.
Exactly. Like, so, like Sony's trying hard as well. It's like we're gonna get one going too, guys. I know we just gave away the one person that would keep this universe together, but we're gonna try.
There was some speculation that Fox were trying the same thing to do with the Fantastic Four reboot, and put it in the same universe as the X-Men films and Deadpool.
Oh God! That.
Yeah.
Talk about stillbirth, Jesus.
Oh, good God, yeah. And everybody who heard about that one was, well, thank God that went nowhere.
How would that even How would
I don't know.
Wise?
It would be the basic answer.
Yeah, because the X-Men franchise right now, continuity is starting to really mirror the comic book version, and that is not a compliment.
It's gone a bit Chris Claremont. I try and look at the timeline, and my brain just starts going.
Like Chris Claremont.
We like him, but man, the continuity get wacko.
Oh yeah, he's a great writer, but he disappears up his own asshole sometimes.
Yeah, just a tad. I'm wondering if that would like maybe if let's you put that in huge quotation marks next to the Fantastic Four movie, like somehow it actually became good. If that would actually be in a viable situation to have Fantastic Four and X-Men crossover, because they've had crossovers in the comics, you could probably pull some stories from there. But man, that was not going to happen. And somehow they still have the rights. I'm trying to figure that part out too.
They won't let them go. It's like Marvel Studios is standing over there going, guys, can we have it back now? Please stop throwing up all over it.
Please. We didn't give you our toys. We didn't lend you our toys just so you could break them.
Pretty much.
Okay, now, okay, please. Okay, now you're just jumping up and down in the broken pieces. Now, okay, is there something you're trying to tell us? We're gonna go run to Papa Disney and tell on you.
There was apparently during one of the Fantastic Four showings, I think it was in the UK actually. People were handed comment cards about what they wanted Fox to do with the franchise. And like everybody just wrote, "Give it back to Marvel" in huge capital letters,
like underlined.
Yeah, in red pen.
And red pen. They're like, where did they get the red pens? Ours was black.
It was the power of their rage.
It's going to be also so we're going back to the whole concept of like, is this a fad or not? It probably, if it is, it's going to be a while because I know for a fact of a couple of different universes that are going to try the launch here in the next couple of years. I know Valiant's been very, very careful, but they do want to have their comic books become movies and their own universe. They're just taking very delicate steps, I've noticed. Probably looking around going, well, let's not do that. No,
Valiant,
let's not do that. Let's definitely not do that.
Now remind me, Valiant, is that the Exo Man of War people?
That is the Exo Man of War people.
Okay.
Though I don't think they're going to start with Exo. The rumor is they're going to start with either Bloodshot or Shadow Man.
Okay. Wait, does Valiant also own Turok?
Yeah, they did. I made a mistake thinking because when Valiant went under, a lot of their licenses kind of went to different places. Turok was one of them. I thought they got Turok back. I was wrong. Apparently, Dynamite has them now.
Oh, because I was gonna say if they're making a Turok Dinosaur Hunter movie, I will be first in line to see that shit. But
the concept of a shared universe has actually been around for a really long time. I mean, going back to the Cthulhu mythos, which is a shared universe. The Wildcard superhero books was designed from the ground up as a shared universe.
Mm-hmm.
The Honor Harrington series, written by a bunch of different people. There is one main author, but there's about, I think it's like 5 or 6 different authors now. Well, and going back a really long way, there was a lot of things like The Three Musketeers. It was basically published fan fiction. But was essentially a kind of proto-shared universe.
This sort of brings me to a question I want to ask. Do you think maybe it has less to do with how they're trying to put these shared universes together and more what they're trying to put them together out of? Because like comic book superheroes lends itself very well to a shared universe. Shared mythologies like Star Wars, Star Trek, or Honor Harrington, things that are really expansive, that have a lot of room for different stories. These are things that lend themselves very well to having new facets added to them. But, you watch Dracula, do you sit through Dracula, come to the end of that and be like, I wonder what other stories could be told in this universe?
I mean, you have a point. It is about, I guess, what it's on, not necessarily like how it's done sometimes. But I would definitely want to argue the case that a Dracula, like a monster universe with Dracula and this, Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, stuff like that, is one that actually can work. But yeah, there are others that probably will not really work because there's nowhere for them to really go or grow, if that makes any sense. You can only have so many spinoffs.
And then how could you logically bring them together? Because okay, Stephen King, if you read his novels, you start to realize that all these stories take place in the same shared universe, but none of these stories intersect because there's no logical reason why the kids from Stand By Me should be going up against fucking Cujo. So there's having a shared universe you can't just stop there. You've also got to have a logical reason why these characters and these circumstances are coming together the way they are. And I have a very hard time coming up with a reason why Dracula would need to go toe-to-toe with the Wolfman, except they're both at the same store and there's only one bottle of hair tonic left.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. What if it was Dracula manipulating the Wolfman and was a revenge story on the Wolfman's part? Maybe it was Dracula that made him a werewolf for some reason.
Then now we're just ripping off Freddy versus Jason.
Or what if it's the case that it's like Underworld, the vampires and werewolves have a traditional enmity? Or what if werewolves are traditionally the kind of attack dogs, not of the vampires? Any number of places you can go with this. It just takes a bit of creativity, which is something that Hollywood has been short on lately.
I want to go back to Freddy versus Jason, because that was not the plot of Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy manipulates Jason into killing a bunch of people so that people believe that Freddy commits the murders and he gains power to manifest in the real world.
Saying. My saying is that the revenge story I had in mind was that Dracula created the Wolfman for devious purposes and the Wolfman's rebelling against him. That is not the same storyline. Similar, yes, but not the same. I know I'm defending Freddy versus Jason, and there's probably a lot of people giving me side eye, but fuck you people. I like that movie.
But there's also
You really want to die on this hill, don't you, Brian? I'm sorry, Skyblaze, continue.
It goes back to what I was saying earlier. There's two different ways that you can do a shared universe. You can either do it as Marvel are doing, where it is a single storyline that is going from point A to point B, with the end point, if you like, being a lot of these characters in the same place at the same time fighting a shared threat. Or you can do it the way that, to pluck an example out of the the way that JAG and NCIS and the various spin-offs of that particular area, they're all in the same universe. And you occasionally see characters from some of the other series showing up and references to places and people from the other shows. But they are very unlikely to all be in the same place at the same time fighting the same threat.
That could be it too, is that Hollywood's very narrow-minded, that this universe they want to be has to have that same storyline of gathering people together for that big threat at the end, when maybe she's right, we don't need that, small threats.
It's because Hollywood has no creativity. They're all trying to ape Marvel rather than trying to forge their own path, which is sad.
So you think this dark universe would be better served by being more of a what's the word? Not mythology. What's the word I'm looking for? Anthology series than say a narrative-based universe.
Think less the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might all be facing this. The same creatures might keep turning up, but it's going to be different people encountering them and saying, "Oh, well, I look at this book from 20 years ago. This other thing occurred at this other place." Fair enough. That means that you have a shortcut that says, "Okay, we found out that X, Y, and Z is effective against him. Oh no, he's learned how to counter this." There are ways that you can do this without having to be the same people in the same place at the same time.
I think it's a very good idea. We should copyright it because someone's going to steal it.
As long as it means good films, I frankly don't care.
Right. The end result is I just want to be enjoying something.
Yeah, if somebody wants to hire me to write it and pay me £1 million, then by all fucking means.
Okay, and then someone I haven't been able to find out if this is official or not, but a friend of mine dropped a rumor bomb on me. Said he heard a story that Hasbro was looking to get in on this shared film universe cake too. To which the first thing that flashed through my mind was just this dread vision of a Michael Bay directed Transformers versus G.I. Joe film.
So here's the thing with that rumor.
Oh, you've heard of this?
Yes, I have. Because it came true, but not in film.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because IDW launched
yeah.
The Hasbro universe, if you want to call it that,
Mhm.
where they have their Transformer comic books, G.I. Joe, Mask.
What's the other one?
Mask,
No,
ROM Space Knight,
ROM Space Knight,
and the Micronauts. Man, like
the what?
The Micronauts?
That's not what I'm not familiar with. Allegedly, Gem's part of the same universe.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? I was
okay.
like, fuck off. Fuck all the way off.
I think someone might be pulling your leg. Because I think the Gem comic book would be completely different, knowing, because the whole thing is like, one of the big storylines is that the Autobots are on Earth, trying to protect it. And Earth's like, you guys have invaded us like 3 fucking times. Can you stop?
please fuck off with your shiny metal bullshit.
Yeah.
This is
or
it's
give
not
us guns so we can join in too. Don't hog all the fun.
At one point back in the 80s, though, because Transformers has done this before, because Transformers used to be in the Marvel universe. You have like Spider-Man sitting on Bumblebee's head, which hilariously means that Transformers connects the Marvel 616 universe with Doctor Who.
All right, I want
Death's head.
I want to challenge you, Skyblaze. There's one character from the 80s Marvel Transformers comics that Marvel still owns the rights to. Can you name that character?
Circuit Breaker.
Yep. And here's the crazy part. She still shows up every now and again in the comics.
Yeah, I know she does.
Usually she's tucked in the back corner, but she's there.
And everyone's like, how'd you get your powers? I don't want to talk about it.
Legally, I can't.
Pretty much.
So, but I mean, this is, I mean, yeah, like I said, Transformers and G.I. Joe. I mean, that's been a dance that's been, going along since both franchises were around. So, but I'd heard somewhere that they were trying to do this in film. And like, okay, Transformers and G.I. Joe, I can see. Don't think they're going to bring Gem back because, 3 people saw that movie in theaters,
and everybody hated it.
Yeah, I had a friend who actually went and saw it in theaters, and when she told me, it was like, "Wow, really? Do you know how rare you are? You're like a goddamn unicorn. Scientists want to put you in a lab and study you. You're an endangered species." So
yeah, according to another friend of mine who did go and see it in a tiny cinema, he said that it read more like a random kind of like what's her bloody name, Miley Cyrus, like one of her films that had been like somebody had done a quick cut and paste job to make it into a Gem film.
Oh, when she was part of Disney and she had like the Secret Identities like superstar gimmick.
Yeah, that one.
Montana.
I don't bloody know that thing.
I watch TV with my niece. That's how I know that.
You keep telling yourself that, dude.
So, but is there any more we can go with this? We've run about an hour already.
I think we've run the topic dry at this point.
I've enjoyed myself. I don't know anybody else.
It's been entertaining. I don't know if we really discovered anything new, but
no, we haven't. But I've had a great
entertaining.
So, well, I mean, the thing is like DC is still kind of finding its footing, and we really only have 2 films in the Dark Universe, so we can't really say where that's going to go.
We forgot. Well, we have one technically because everyone forgot the first one.
We have 1 film and we have 1 emo teens fantasy. Okay, all right, a little more close to reality. I'm sorry. I can't get. I'm looking at the poster and I'm looking at Dracula on this poster. I swear to God, I knew a kid in high school who dressed this way. I'm not joking.
Did he have a cape of bats?
No, but like, oh my God, he would staple like foam pads to the shoulders of his trench coat to make it look like armor plating. He was just the biggest fucking goober you ever met. I swear to God. Oh, I wonder whatever happened to him. But anyway, so like I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where this goes and what they do with it. They honestly, based on everything I've heard, they haven't done themselves any favors with the Mummy. So I'm interested. So I don't know if we'll even. Who knows? Maybe this is another stillborn franchise. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. So, but that's about all the time that we have for Nerd of the Third Power this week. We will be taking next week off for the 4th of July, so that all of us Americans can blow stuff up and have cookouts with hot dogs and hamburgers and beer.
And I can go to bed early.
So so we'll be taking next week off, but we'll be back in 2 weeks for what, Brian?
I believe it's going to be this homecoming of sorts, a Spider-Man homecoming, maybe.
Wow, you get okay. That's something better.
He was trying, bless him.
Yes, Spider-Man Homecoming. We will be back in 2 weeks to discuss the new Spider-Man film, or as it seems to be shaping up based on the trailers, Iron Man 4 with special guest Spider-Man. So,
frankly, I can live with that, but that might just be me.
But that's all the time we have for Nerd of the Third Power this week. We will see you in 2 weeks for Spider-Man Homecoming. Thank you as always for tuning in. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm Skyblaze.
I'm Brian.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Taka, play us out.